And now to take a closer look at all these trades, we're joined by TSN Hockey analyst Frankie Corrado and Bryan Hayes, host of Overdrive on TSN Radio. So first of all, Frankie, Adam Henrique, what does he bring to the Edmonton Oilers?
Versatility and dependability, and that's something that's very important for Edmonton if they want to make a long playoff run. And what do I mean by versatility? Yes, he's a center iceman. He's played a lot of wing this season. So you have options now as far as you're going to have him higher in the lineup, you're going to have him lower in the lineup. You want him to drive a line. He has that ability and dependability. Someone who you can trust in your own zone, who's been there and done it, been around the league. He's 34 years old. He's got 18 goals this season. Only 5 of those are power play goals. So think about what that offers you in your lineup as far as 5-on-5 scoring for the Edmonton Oilers. Something that's very important to them come playoff time. Adam Henrique gives them a little versatility and some dependability in the game that he can play.
How much does this improve things for the Oilers in terms of being a Stanley Cup contender?
Oh, I think it definitely improves their chances, but they were already a Cup contender. They've been a Cup contender for months, right, Frankie? Basically, since the coaching change, you run 16 off in a row, that's going to make a major statement. But you look at the way they're playing every night, the underlying numbers every night. You look at what they did in Boston. They're a resilient team. They're a big team. Defensively sound team. Now they add depth. Everything you said about Henrique is 100% spot on. He's not going to be a top-line guy, but he can be a second-line guy, third-line guy. If you want Draisaitl to play with McDavid, it makes it that much more easy for their head coach and the coaching staff moving forward. Edmonton is locked. They're loaded. They may not be done. I love where they're at right now.
So that's the Oilers. What about the number one team right now in the overall standings? Florida Panthers not standing pat at the deadline. How much better does Vladimir Tarasenko make Florida?
It's a marginal improvement, but it's one that's certainly worth, it's not even a risk. They barely paid anything to bring in Tarasenko. That's clearly where he wanted to be. You can understand why. They're such a good team. But what he brings is championship pedigree. He did it, obviously, with the Blues in 19. He's not the same guy. He's not a superstar anymore. He's big. He's heavy. He has the ability to score goals, but he adds depth. That's really what it is. This team is so loaded top to bottom. They are the best team in the NHL right now. They definitely got better. It's not over the top, but when you're already at the top, all you're talking about is marginal improvement anyway.
And all he has to do is slide in and be a guy. He doesn't have to be the guy. And now what happens for the Panthers with their lineup is maybe there was someone higher in the lineup that they were asking a little too much from offensively. That player gets to slide down and Tarasenko goes in. So it's another layer to their offense that's already very good. Already a guy that you know can be harder to play against when he has the puck in the offensive zone. You talked about like the physique of him. He's going to bring that, and he fits right in with Florida because they're not going to ask too much of him. He just needs to be himself and play his game, and he's had a really good season this year.
Not stunning to see the Sens, Frankie, in a seller's position, of course, given where they are in the standings. But now that Tarasenko's gone, does this open the floodgates? Should the sell-off continue?
I mean, the floodgates were already open for Ottawa. We know exactly the direction that this team needs to go in. And now with new management, they're going to put their footprint on this team as far as how they want it to look in the future. So, yeah, Tarasenko moves. If they can find someone to take Dominic Kubalik, I would imagine they would love and welcome that. And then where do you go from here? The trade deadline is not the time where you're going to make a seismic shift within your organization. Josh Norris is hurt. You're not going to move Stützle, Tkachuk, and Sanderson. So, yeah, if you can find some pieces to move on from, bring in some young pieces, yes, but I don't expect Ottawa to start changing the complexion of their organization right now.
Right. This is not the heavy lifting, right? These are the obvious moves that come with a team that isn't that good. But heavy lifting is coming for this team. It is imperative. I would suggest that they should look at a coach. Get a coach in now. If you're looking at Berube or somebody else who's available, take a page out of the book of Vancouver. What they did with Rick Tocchet last year. Get a guy in there now. He can place eyes on what they have and what they don't, and he starts from the ground running next year. The elephant in the room is Korpisalo has been a disaster. That goaltending position is an absolute mess. Staios and company, they've got to figure that out. But the heavy lifting is coming, and something has to give. Right, we keep mentioning the same core pieces that were all granted long-term deals from the previous administration. They're clearly not working. They're good players on paper, but they do not come together to make a good team. Tarasenko is one thing. Kubalik's another thing. The goaltender, the coach, and the core, that has to be addressed, and I think it's got to happen sooner rather than later.
Well, you mentioned the Vancouver Canucks. I want to go straight to the top of the trade bait board. One guy we're still waiting on is Jake Guentzel of the Penguins. with the Canucks rumored to have interest, would he be a better fit for Vancouver than Elias Lindholm?
Absolutely. I think it's been determined based on these rumors right now. The fact that Pittsburgh is looking at Guentzel, and we know why they would be looking at Guentzel. Guentzel's a really good player that's had cup pedigree in the past, but I think what that's saying is Lindholm has not been the fit. Lindholm is a guy that's comfortable playing up the middle of the ice. They don't want to do that necessarily in Vancouver or not be committed to it every single game. Guentzel comes in, you know what side he's playing on. He's on the left side. He can play with Miller. He can play with Pettersson. He's made a career out of playing with great players. We know it, playing with 87 down in Pittsburgh. Guentzel would absolutely be the better fit. It's complicated because you just brought Lindholm in, so you got to do something with him. But I like that activity. I like that mentality. And if Guentzel's the better guy, and he wasn't available a month ago, but he is today, go get him in Vancouver.
And not only is Guentzel the better fit, you absolutely have to trade Elias Lindholm now. Think about that dynamic. You brought this guy in, and now it's very noisy because it's leaked that, oh, maybe the Boston Bruins want him. Maybe they're going to make this trade. We don't see this kind of move happen every year. So when something like this happens, how do you go back to that player after the trade deadline and say, no, we're good. We like you. Hey,
easy.
like, we really wanted you here. Because the truth is out now. You don't want him there, and you want Jake Guentzel. So, yes, Jake Guentzel is a better fit. You absolutely have to make that move happen now.
Hayes mentioned 87. Guentzel spent his whole career playing with Sidney Crosby in Pittsburgh. What kind of player do you think he is without 87?
Still a very good player. Let's call a spade a spade. Jake Guentzel is one of the most prolific goal scorers that we've seen the last few seasons. Not in the higher end of goal scorers, but still very good, very consistent. But you know what he's done? He scored in the playoffs, and that's something the Vancouver Canucks are going to need. And think about this, Rod. He's going from playing with Sidney Crosby. He's going to play with Elias Pettersson. It's not like he's taken a big step down. He's going to play with a third-line grinder. He's playing with one of the best centermen in the league, still a playmaker, someone who can shoot the puck, all that kind of stuff, but he's still going to be playing with a very good centerman. So I actually look at this and say, how good can that look?
Oh, exactly.
Like what's the ceiling on this?
Well, and Sid's reputation is he's not the easiest center to play with. Right. That's his reputation. That's why it was Kunitz and Dupuis, and just stick with it. We're not trying anything else. That's why when he gets to Canada, it's like Bergeron, Marchand, that's it. We're not moving. I think if anything, Guentzel gets to Pittsburgh and goes, all right, I can maybe be a little bit more creative here. Where Sid is a guy, he wants it done his way for obvious reasons. Guentzel's made a great decision by going that way, as everyone else should that plays with Sidney Crosby. But Sid is not an easy guy to play with all the time. I think if you can flourish in that environment, Guentzel's done it for years. He can flourish anywhere. And like you said, if it's with Pettersson, riding shotgun with EP40, it's going to look pretty good in Vancouver.
A lot of things have already happened today, but more to come between now and Friday, gentlemen. Stick around. We have plenty more to discuss on a busy day.